What is up, gamers? The Red Dragon here, and we are covering the top stories on VGM. So the reviews for PlayStation 4 are rolling in for Call of Duty Ghosts, and it's not looking good. So I'm going to go through a few of these reviewers and tell you what they said about the PlayStation 4 version. Apparently, the PS4 version suffers from technical and frame rate issues. It may be 1080p, but it is having trouble keeping up with 60 frames per second. So Polygon says, much has been said about the fact that the PlayStation 4 version of the game runs at native 1080p, and while this may be true, the game did struggle to maintain a steady frame rate, especially in hectic multiplayer matches. The PS3 version of the game ran into similar problems, whereas the 360 version maintained a steady 60 frames per second. IGN says, on the current gen versions, Ghosts look nearly identical, though I did encounter occasional frame rate issues during the single player campaign on PS3 and PS4. Joystick says, a key pillar of the Call of Duty experience has always been rock solid 60 frames per second gameplay. On 360, Ghosts maintains this mandate. The PlayStation 4 version, however, has noticeable technical issues, sometimes slowing to a crawl, particularly during set-piece moments with multiple effects. One specific moment I was able to replicate multiple times on PS4 was a campaign scene that ran smoothly on the Xbox 360 and PS3, while the game chugged on the PS4. These frame rate hitches happen throughout the campaign on PS4, and in a series known for its Hollywood-inspired bombast, it detracted from the experience. Edge said, while the PS4 version runs at a native 1080p, the precious frame rate drops briefly before checkpoints, which are at least placed so that the odd stutter never affects gunplay. And Giant Bomb says, additionally, the PS4 version has a handful of noticeable dips in its frame rate. This usually seemed to happen when a lot of smoke or other effects were happening on screen, but occasionally it happened in multiplayer for reasons I couldn't even guess at all. So it is definitely interesting to see how this is going to be spun around, because again, I would say that this has to do with it being the first game that is releasing on the consoles. The tools aren't precisely optimized on either the PS4 and the Xbox, so whenever, gamers want to trash somebody else, you have to ask your question, what's more important whenever you're playing a game? The resolution or the frame rate? And I would say the frame rate's more important. And so I'm going to leave some links in the description box so you can go read some interviews. They explain, the devs came out and talked about why the Xbox version was 720p upscaled to 1080, and they said it has to do with making sure that it remains 60 frames per second. And they said a lot of the problems had to do with the stuff that I have told you repeatedly. You read the interviews, they say they were getting tools and optimizations coming in as they were developing the game, so that was a problem. They also say allocation was an issue, so like I think 10% of Xbox's memory or something was dedicated to something other than the game, but Microsoft has already said in future updates they are going to look into allocating this more to devs, but just getting started, they kept it tapped, and so this is what Call of Duty had to work with. But buzz below, I want to know what's more important to you, frame rate or resolution? That does it for me, the Red Dragon. Stay up to date with the latest news and information right here on this channel, and also VGN, VideoGamesNews.com. Thanks for watching.